Animated shorts take a look at the galaxy from a different perspective. Light and dark are in conflict. Heroes are born and more as the Sky Guys are back to review Volume 2 of Star Wars Visions.
All right, we are back here on the Sky Guys podcast. Catch up on the latest Star Wars content coming out here. That's Star Wars Visions, the anime style shorts. 9 new ones in Volume 2 dropped on Star Wars Day on Disney Plus. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. Join me today, as always, the man who's voicing your narration every single week here, Pete Consadori. Pete, how are you?
Doing well. Always a pleasure talking Star Wars. We're gaining a following on the social media, so we thank you guys for listening in and watching our reels there. That's implementation. Want to thank Martino Puccio and Mike Phillips for getting that idea up, and also Nick for posting everything. So glad to be here, glad to broadcast this to all you listeners.
Absolutely. Also with us today, the leader of our flight academy, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing well. Very excited to talk Visions. I was, we all agreed that season 1 or volume 1 rather, was not bad, but not for us. And volume 2 was for me. I can say that much.
Yeah, I feel like I'm very excited watching these. I think we'll talk about this more in detail in a few minutes, Nick, is that like the choice they made to have a bunch of studios from around the world produce these things did add a lot of flavor to a lot of different animation styles. I think that did make it much more visually interesting to me than the first set was.
I agree. They didn't feel like they were all the same. They had a little bit of a different feel to each of them, unique feel, and there were some ones that really stood out to me that I was really engaged in.
Absolutely here. So, Pete, if people want to subscribe to us here on the Sky Guys, they can do so on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, all the usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys, your favorite podcast platforms, find episodes there, and you got to subscribe. You want to be on the horn for all of our fun stuff between the live action shows.
Yeah, we're in exclusive content zone. This is what you guys have been wanting. So definitely subscribe so you don't miss out the audio. For those of you listening on YouTube, if you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? Subscribe. Let's go.
Absolutely here. And Nick, people want to see the fun Instagram reels like the one about Omega last week that went viral on Instagram. So how do they do that?
You follow at Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram.
Yeah, I also share.
And also on Twitter.
Yes, also on Twitter. But like your commentary on Omega seems to have struck a nerve with some of the people out there.
No, some people agree. It's some people, it's people have their own opinions. It goes back and forth. Some people are a big fan of the character. Some people are not. Some people are asking me what I'm talking about in terms of they didn't actually know what I was talking about. Not like they disagreed, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I think it's been all civil comments in there, and that's good.
It is pretty good, Pete, because the internet can be a cesspool. So nice to know that there are some civil people still out there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think all three of us are understanding that there's different opinions out there in the Star Wars world. We respect those opinions, and we're gonna keep throwing those hot takes. We're gonna keep throwing those controversial picks and controversial ideas out there when it comes to Star Wars world. So hopefully it stirs some more conversation.
It does. You can also follow the YouTube page, Mike Phillips on YouTube, video version of our podcast. I'm on my YouTube channel here. We include all our props as always, including, since we saw his mask in one of the shorts here, we'll go with Lego Mando is here, Nick.
Hello.
Hello there.
I don't know what else to say.
All right, so that's it for that part here. So let's get to some Star Wars. There's a couple of things to discuss.
Oh, sorry. Lost the mute button like I'm Pete. So to the news, number one is that Felicity Jones, that's the character who played oh my god, I'm blanking on her name, Jyn Erso in Rogue One, said she is not going to be in Endor. And I'm not surprised. I mean, very, very little bit surprised because Saw Gerrera might be in and she should be with Saw at this point. Actually, maybe even not. So it kind of makes sense because it seems like she's not with Saw anymore, actually, in terms of the timeline, because she wasn't with Saw for a number of years leading up to Rogue One. So it actually makes perfect sense to me. I'm not surprised at all.
So, Pete, my condolences on the character draft. You're not going to get any Jyn Erso points in season 2.
All I'm saying is, and the name escapes me because I don't want to botch it if I say it wrong, but Emperor Palpatine came out and said he was not in certain things, but he was. So let's take this with a grain of salt, shall we? I mean, I'm still trying here. I'm still trying to get one win, or at least one character. It's been a while, but I'm confident. I'm confident I could pull one off.
I mean, to be fair to Peter, also, Lars Mikkelsen has a long time saying he was not going to be in Ahsoka, and then all of a sudden, he's in Ahsoka.
I
Yeah,
see.
true.
Anything that proves my point is okay by me. So
And I said
keep the
that too.
facts going.
I said that too when he said he wasn't going to be in Ahsoka. I was like, well, I mean, Palpatine said he was going to be in Kenobi, and there he was. Next is, and Mike, you're going to have to help me with this. Kathleen Kennedy offers the first plot details for the Raid movie. I know she did, but I didn't look at them. So you're going to have to tell me.
Yeah, so anyway, she did a bunch. There's apparently she's been going around doing some interviews about this, and I pulled this article from Den of Geek, and basically she told Empire Magazine here, we're going 15 years after the Rise of Skywalker. The First Order has fallen, the Jedi are in chaos. There's even a question of how many exist anymore. And Rey's building a new Jedi Order based on the text that she was given and that Luke imparted on her. So that's the general sense that like the Jedi are a mess. We still don't know how many Jedi there actually are, and Rey's trying to unite everybody.
Seems weird that the Jedi would be in disarray at that point, but I guess it also seemed weird that they'd be in disarray in Episode 7, and they made a story out of that. So I can't judge it till we see it.
Yeah, and I mean, you could also say it seems weird that like we had a whole situation where we had like Order 66 to wipe out almost all the Jedi, and then we have new survivors every single day in Star Wars content. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it since we started this podcast. We talk about weird, or maybe this doesn't make sense. We're watching a show and movies about people who travel through space and fight with light swords. I'll laser swords actually is what I usually say. So I'm going to stick by that. It sounds like an interesting concept. If it's done correctly, I think it would be good. I think it'll be refreshing. So I'm excited to see if that comes to fruition in the sense of being good content.
Yep. Nick, what else we got? I think Nick lost the mute button again.
Yeah, he's pulling. This is weird.
I did.
Pulling me.
That time I just didn't know I was muted. Last we have here is the big writer's strike that's going on. That's impacting all of, not just Star Wars, but media in general, films, movies, and what have you. So, Mike, you want to walk us through that?
All right, so give you the background of the writer's strike here. So basically, the Writers Guild of America is on strike because they cannot agree to terms of a new contract with the studios and the streamers. So all the issues that are with this in terms of like better pay, writers' rooms, you can read all that outside the line. Here's how it impacts us. Like production on like anything that is scripted has been writing wise has come to a halt. You have stuff like your late night shows, like your SNLs, the late night talk shows, like those are gone because all the writers are gone right now. Like TV shows that have scripts written and can shoot the scripts as written, Pete. So like if for example, like let's say a show went ahead and has the scripts for their season written, they can film them as is, but they cannot make any changes on the material until the strike is over, because I believe the quiet writing is like you can't even move a comma without the writers being present here. So this does put an limit potentially what can be produced. And there's already talk about some shows such as Stranger Things are just shutting down production in solidarity with the writers.
Yeah, Stranger Things is one of the big ones, right? They've been delayed because of the writer's strike. I mean, you have a beautifully organized list here that I think you'll go through, but it's good to see that at least most of the stuff we're excited for has been completed, so we don't have to worry too much about it as of yet. The editing thing gets me a little worried because there's no writers to edit or change that content. But yeah, I mean, if you want, you can get to the list now when it comes to Star Wars.
Yeah, in terms of the editing, it refers more to post-production work and editing wise. I'm talking about editing is like, oh, like if writers on set and they're doing a line read, oh no, like we should change it to so it sounds more like this. You cannot do that right now. Well, that's what I'm referring to.
Wouldn't that be at the discretion of the directors though, not the writers?
The difference is like if they're working off the writer's scripts, they cannot change the script.
They're not allowed. A director's not allowed to say, you know what, I think we shouldn't be doing this without the writer's consent and let's call it permission.
Basically, the difference is like if it's written and submitted to the studio, is the studio's property. They can film it as is. If they want to change a word, and let's say like we wrote the line like we're going to the store right now, you can say no, it doesn't make sense. Like we're going to the mall. You can't do that. That one word has to be approved by the writer.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, so here's how this impacts us right now in terms of stuff here. The stuff that has little impact, Nick. Ahsoka fully done, gonna be released in August. Skeleton Crew probably falls in that boat as well because they're in post-production and they should be fine, but there is a chance they do hold this back a little bit in case this strike goes on pretty long and in case they need content for 2024.
Well, the thing is that with a strike like this or any strike, this might end tomorrow. We don't know. So, like, yeah, I mean, as of now, we're going to assume this is not ending because then we can look at this stuff and actually get an accurate representation on what might happen. So, like, I mean, I can't imagine Ahsoka's impacted whatsoever.
Yeah, I said it has no impact on that, and probably not Skeleton Crew either.
And then you have a couple other things here that have you have listed as potential impact. Yeah,
Yeah,
things that might be impacted.
let's go to the things that might be impacted now. The Acolyte, the one I'd be worried about because they're still filming and this is a very complex show. So like if they want to do rewrites on the set, that might get delayed. So like they can finish filming whatever the scripts they have. I've not been able to ascertain what scripts they have completed at this point. I believe as of Celebration they have 4 episodes finished. So that leaves 4 they're still working on here. So if the 8-episode order is not finished relatively soon, we could see this push back a little bit into 2024, Pete.
Yeah, we could. And just to kind of piggyback off what Nick said, as of date of recording, the strike is still going on. So if they decide tomorrow, the day after recording, that they're not on strike anymore, they come to an agreement, this is kind of going to be a little obsolete. But from record, just want to give the viewers and the listeners out there, we are still experiencing the writer. Well, we're not experiencing it, but the industry is still experiencing the writer's strike.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon because the pressure point, Nick, for these things is usually like early to midsummer when the shows that networks start getting ready for fall TV season. When they don't have content, that's when I think the pressure comes to make a deal.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's usually like that time of year when the new seasons are coming. I don't know how writing works. I have no idea when they start, how long it takes to write an episode. I have no idea, but I think you're right, and I think that these shows or movies that you have listed under this category that you listed as potential impact, I think you're 100% right. Although there's one of them that I think is more of a definite impact that I have highlighted on the screen for you guys, that you can see, but I know people cannot see that who are listening. And for me, that's Mando season 4. I think that it's definitely going to get impacted. I know he said he wrote season 4, but like when you write, like, correct me if I'm wrong, when you write something versus writing a script, there's an entire difference. He didn't write. You write something that means you write the story. It's understood what's going to happen. You write a script. It's what they're going to say.
Well, I mean, Jon Favreau said that he wrote the scripts for season 4 before season 3, so the season's entirely written. Difference is
he wrote the scripts.
He did. So like,
okay,
they can film as is. The plan right now with them is they're going to try and film in the fall, from what I've been gathering here. But the issue, if they want to change anything based off the reception of season 3, they have to wait till the strike is over.
I would imagine if they're filming in the fall, that by the time my prediction is this writer strike is over by Labor Day, the latest. And if that's the case, then if they're not filming until the fall, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. Another one that shouldn't have an issue is Andor season 2, because the scripts for that show, according to the Hollywood Reporter, were fully complete, went over multiple times here. So they're still in production over there in the UK. So like, sounds like we shouldn't have any issues with Andor coming out on time, which is great for us because we love the Andor, Pete.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of these things before we get to the definite impact, except for Acolyte, it looks like everything's pretty much done. So I'm excited that at least that's done.
Yeah, the definite impact here. A couple of things I'll point out here. Nick, the movies are definitely getting impact because I remember when we had this conversation at Celebration that Kathleen Kennedy said the script was about 6 weeks away from the Rey movie. And we have not hit 6 weeks before the strike hit. So there's no way that script is finished. So that one and the following movie, the script, I'm sure it's not done for that either. So can't really do much in terms of pre-production for a movie without a script. So there's a good chance that 2025 date gets missed if that release window is not and the strike's not resolved quickly.
That date always concerned me a little bit. I don't know. I was used to the idea that it took 3 years to make a movie, possibly 2. And we're looking at, it's 2.5 now, so it's not the end of the world. It's not very short. It's pretty much right between 2 and 3. And the fact that there's nothing written yet, though, I've always found it hard to believe that you'd have a movie in 2.5 years. But with this writer's strike, let's say my prediction, I'm just going to say it's Labor Day. That's when it gets solved. So that's 4 months from now, roughly. That gives you a little more than 2 years to finish the movie. Can you do it in that time?
You're sure if you get the script done quick enough, you can, but if they take a while, the script might push it back.
Well, I hope they do, because I would rather them make a script the right way and spend the time needed on it than rush a script out just so we could hit a release date. That would not be ideal, especially on a movie that where this movie came from, which is the sequel trilogy, was very decisive. Or excuse me, what's the word I'm looking for?
Divisive.
Divisive, where people were divided on the movies. You had a lot of people who hated these movies, a lot of people who loved these movies, and there's fights on the internet every day about these movies. And the last thing you want is a movie to be rushed that's trying to, I don't want to use this word save, but it's trying to bring people who didn't like the sequels and say, hey, this character's okay. And that's how I feel like, honestly, that's how I feel the direction I'm moving in. But if you have a movie that comes out that's subpar because of a rushed script, you're not going to get those people to change their minds. It's only going to make things more split. So I think that's really important that this strike gets resolved for this. I think this is the biggest part of the script. When you say there's a writer's script, how is it going to impact Star Wars? That's the first thing I think of, because everything else could get pushed a little bit. It's not a big deal. It could do this. You could rush a show a little bit. I mean, I don't recommend it, but you could. But you rush this movie, your first movie back in the theaters in 6 years after the last time you were there, you left a sour taste in people's mouths. It could be bad news. So I'm hoping that this strike gets resolved sooner rather than later.
Yeah, P, I think the big worry for us here, obviously, is the movie situation, because they really have to land this movie to be successful going forward here. And like any potential delay with getting this thing going here is not good.
Yeah, I mean, timelines change all the time. Delays happen without writer strikes too. So I'm not reading too much into the delay part. I just will hope for good content when that time does come.
Yep. Two other things, the animated shows here. Bad Batch Season 3, Nick. I mean, they just announced a celebration. I can't imagine they've gotten very far on the script. So, like, they said next year for that one. Might be towards the end of next year if this thing is delayed a little bit. And Tales of the Jedi as well here. Dave Filoni just announced a celebration. I'm doing another one. Sure, you guys have written it, yes. I'm sure that one's being delayed too.
I have a double question. There's a writer's strike. Does that mean every single writer in the world is on strike?
Any member who's a member of the Writers Guild of America.
Okay, so you're a member of the Writers Guild. You are. So is Dave Filoni a member of this?
I'm assuming that like he's a member of both, but I think like in terms of like being responsible for like a potential show, like he could work as a showrunner, but like he may opt not to. It's solidarity with the writers.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. All right, so that's what's going on with that one, and then one unintended side effect I want to point out here. If we get to a point, where Nick says like, oh, we get to Labor Day, it's resolved. It take a while for these shows to get going here, so networks made to fill some time. A lot of times turn to reality shows, game shows, but like one thing here, Pete, like we've seen that ABC has dipped into the Disney Plus catalog to show off the first episode of Mandalorian this year, first two episodes of Andor last year. So could you see the scenario here where, like we're stuck with content, they say, you know what, like we're gonna fill out times, like we're gonna give you season 1 of the Mandalorian or season 1 of Andor. I think that would be a distinct possibility.
Maybe if they're desperate enough, sure. I mean, I don't see why not. It'd be smart, it'd be cool, it'd be good for Star Wars, I'll tell you that much. But I mean, it's one of those things where they can show reruns of other things as well. I don't know how much content these television networks have kind of in their back pocket already filmed that hasn't been released yet, so they may be okay. But yeah, it's definitely a possibility. They tried to do kind of like I don't say a soft launch, but they did 1 or 2 episodes of Andor on cable, so it's a possibility.
And I think Andor would be more likely because A, has more episodes, and B, the second season coming out later next year, so you could say get people excited for it that way.
Yeah. Well, listen, we're not going to know until they resolve it. They might resolve it soon. They might not. And if they do resolve it soon, it'll all be for nothing. So or at least, in terms of our release dates and whatnot. So let's hope for that, and let's talk some Visions.
Yeah, let's talk some Visions here. So Visions Volume 2, 9 shorts came out last week here. I know we said on the podcast, like we were not big fans of Volume 1 because it just didn't grab us. Like I know they were done very well. They were very well received critically. People love these things. Like Volume 2, though, I say, there was a lot of them that got my attention, got me very excited, and the animation styles definitely got my interest here. And Nick, how about you? How did you feel about Vision as a whole?
Same as you. There were a lot that caught my eye. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember Volume 1 that much. Maybe if you guys do, you could tell me, yes, Nick, you're right about this, or you could say, no, you're wrong about this. I feel like a lot of the the shorts that were in Volume 1 were in a universe unrelated to the universe we know of Star Wars. Now, everything's obviously not canon, including Volume 2, but a lot of the episodes in Volume 1 seemed like, oh, this is 50 million years ago, and this was 50 million years in the future. And there's like, as compared to Volume 2, there were a good chunk of these, maybe 6 of them or 5 of them, that took place during the time period of Star Wars that we know. Am I wrong that is unique to this season?
I think you are incorrect. I'm looking on the Wikipedia page right now. I'm looking at season 1 stuff. They have a couple mentioned here about one was called Wap and Ocho last year, was set during the reign of the Galactic Empire between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. The Elder was set for Phantom Menace. The Twins was set after Rise of Skywalker, Ninth Jedi after Rise of Skywalker. So they had a few that were in the timeline, supposedly, but not canon.
All right, well then strike that from the record.
Okay. It struck on the record here. Pete, how'd you feel watching these shorts this year?
Yeah, I mean, I liked them. I think that they were really good. There's like 1 or 2 episodes that really stand out to me, pretty much like the same as you guys. It was refreshing. It's something different. I really like that they chose different production studios for each episode, and just kind of seeing that fresh art style for each one was a really cool experience.
Yeah, because I did look it up here. I think Japanese studios did all 9 shorts last year, and this year we had shorts from, I believe, the USA. It kind of the list here. It was Japan, India, the US, UK, Ireland, Spain, Chile, France, South Africa, and South Korea. So a lot of diversity in terms of like animation styles.
It was really, really well done. There were a lot that I enjoyed, and maybe only like 1 or 2 that I didn't. Honestly, it was really good.
It's really good. Let's get some of these here. Let's go around the horn here. So, Nick, I'll let you go first here. Give me some of your highlights in terms of the shorts. Like, which ones did you like the best?
Sure, I will speak about 2. I will speak about 2. The first one that really, although there's more. There were a good 5 that I really liked, but I'm picking 2 here. The 2 that I really, really liked above all was episode 2, which was Screecher's Reach. Just a really cool episode, a really interesting. It was scary too. Like that ghost was really scary in there, and I don't know how to explain. I just loved it. It was really exciting. I was on the edge of my seat. Like, what is going to happen? Why are they afraid? And seeing the Sith Mother at the end, it just seemed it was just a very interesting episode. A really cool dynamic, and something that I want to see more of. Something like that, like a hidden temple mystery of Star Wars.
Yeah, we'll discuss this one for a minute here, Pete. How'd you feel Screecher's Reach? Because I did think this was interesting in terms of like the storyline, like with the kids who works in the factory and they go on this quest to go like find the Sith cave and like explain, like solve the mystery of the cave. And basically, this one friend with his like decides to become a Sith at the end, just screws all her other friends over to leave. Like that was an interesting story choice.
Yeah, I think 80% of them had interesting story choices. I liked it though. The art style was not something I was super into, but the story was great. I found it very interesting. Pretty much all of Nick's points I kind of mirror, not to be boring, but yeah, I mean it was super cool. I like the kind of twist that the Sith Mother, if you will, like kind of draws the kid in. So I liked it.
Yeah, the Sith Mother, by the way, Nick, voiced by Angelica Houston, so big time actress getting in that role.
I saw that. The problem is I don't know who that is.
Yeah, well, I'll give you the resume real quick for Angelica Houston. In terms of like some big famous stuff she's been in here. So.
I'm looking at her page. You don't need to, but I will tell. I'll talk about my second one right now. This next one is my favorite of the season. It is episode 8, The Pit. I was just a huge fan of that. I really thought it was so interesting what they did to those slaves, and like I was like, it kind of reminded me of Batman when they're all stuck down there in The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
A little bit different because they struggled to get out, and he got out fairly easily, like after he planned it. But they don't really tell you how much time has passed. It could have been a month they were stuck down there. It could have been a day. I don't know. But he gets out of there, and then like that city that's something that they built, and it's just so interesting that all these people find out about this, and it kind of shows you like how the Empire was perceived, was portrayed in the galaxy when the Empire first came to be. in 19 BBY, I think there were a good amount of people who knew what was going on, sure, but not a lot of people understood that the Empire was the bad guy yet, and they kind of like just said, "Oh, it's the Republic," and they changed the name for security. And then this is kind of like showing people, no, this is the Empire is not good. Like they're performing genocide in another episode that we see, and that's another one that I really like. But they're keeping hostages, slaves, and I think people then start to realize what's going on, and it all goes back to the slow formation of what eventually comes into being a rebellion.
Yeah, so sure. Here, and Pete, in terms of the pit, the thing to point out here is like that city that Nick talked about here. It's very clear with the passage of like how deep the hole gets and how long the city's being built. They were down there for years working on that thing, and then they started getting abandoned here. And I did think it was like very cool to see like this whole thing where like the guy Crux escapes, he goes to the city, gives a speech, and then the Empire shows like no mercy. They just throw him to his death in the pit, which is like pretty dark.
Yeah, I think this episode gives you that dark side of Star Wars that I really liked from Revenge of the Sith and other movies and shows that will at least explore it and not make it too kid friendly. But I agree with everything said here. I mean, it was a great storyline as well. I think it's very interesting that they show that side of the Empire too. When, like Nick said, like at some point we thought the Empire, excuse me, the characters thought the Empire was just a changed name, and now they're kind of realizing what they really are.
Yeah, also point out your couple of notable voice actors for us who are in this thing, Nick, is that our buddy Stephen Bloom, who plays Zeb, is the commander of the stormtroopers, and Matthew Wood, who's the voice of General Grievous, is the voice of the other stormtroopers.
That is really interesting. Good to have them back. I mean, I'm assuming Zeb will get some more work in upcoming shows, considering he was in what's the show we just watched, Mandalorian. Um, but was he in Mandalorian? He was, right? It was the same actor, right? It had to be. And yeah, I'd imagine. And then Matthew Wood. It's just nice to see him back. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if he does anything else besides Grievous in Star Wars.
he actually he actually played Boba Fett, I think, in one episode of Boba Fett.
Oh, interesting.
Not Boba Fett, Ben Fortuna.
Ah, okay.
All right, so now we have Nick's favorites on the board here. Pete, you want to give me your highlights from this crop of shorts?
Yeah, so hang on, my phone just locked. I had everything set up here. So I had three favorites. I really liked, and I'll just kind of rapid fire here because it's all going to be the same kind of stuff for me. I enjoyed the story. I think it's very interesting how they portrayed the story, and I also like the art style. Episode 1, Sith, was one of my favorites. Episode 3, In the Stars, was another one of my favorites. And then the Bandits of Golak. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Episode 7.
Yep,
Episode 7, yeah. Art styles, I loved all three of them, and like I said, the storyline that they portrayed was very interesting to me. The others I don't have a problem with. I don't think there was really any low points for me, but it was those three stuck out to me a lot more than the others.
Yeah, I did like all three of those. I had them all very high on my board here in terms of like, I think in terms of the visuals here, I'm glad they put the Sith first, Nick, because the Sith's visuals, I think, maybe the best in the entire batch because like it's like stunning when you first pop it on. You see all the colors, you see the animation choices here, plus the storyline here. A lot of fun where you have like this former Sith apprentice who decides she doesn't want to be in the Sith anymore, and then like her master tries to like hunt her down, and like he's like I like the design of the master too. He's like a mix between Darth Malak and Plo Koon.
Yeah, the Sith had you hit the nail on the head with the visuals. The visuals in the Sith were superb, and that's what stood the episode out to me entirely.
Yeah, that's the Sith. In terms of the second one Pete brought up here, in terms of In the Stars, Pete, I did like the animation here. Like, what about the story grabbed you on that one?
The story was good. I think it was really telling of the hope that the young character had, and I think that spreads across all Star Wars. The hope to and the belief that they could defeat the enemy, and some people couldn't, some people could. And I think the older sister being able to save the younger sister with the powers that the younger sister wanted, I think was really cool at the end.
Yeah, I did like the I did like the In the Star storyline here. And Nick, I do feel like one of the themes here at these things like a lot of secret Jedi in this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. This is my third favorite episode outside of the two that I mentioned. I like this one a lot. I really like it's dark. The genocide, their mother's gone, all the rest of their neighborhood, whatever it was, they're all gone, and it's a sad episode. It's happy at the end when you can see that they're getting looked down upon. They're getting looked down upon by their mother again, and it's just another example of how like evil the Empire was. If you just watch the movies, we're just told the Empire is evil, but why? I mean, yeah, they blew up Alderaan, but like we don't see the genocide, and I mean, we still don't see it, but we don't know that they're committing genocide planet to planet, and it's really, it's not good.
I think there's only really 3 properties we actually see like the Empire being truly evil in, which is Andor, in Rebels a little bit, and here. I think that's the only 3 times we see why the Empire is bad.
Well, don't forget they blew up a planet.
Well, that's true in episode.
But also, to be fair, they blew up the planet. But when they did, no one knew that was. I know this doesn't excuse them by any means, but like the Empire, when you live on Coruscant and you work 9 to 5 in Coruscant, you have no idea the Death Star exists. You don't even know the Empire is doing that. So the common person doesn't even know that that's going on. The Death Star was a secret.
Yeah, that's for sure here. I did also think, in terms of the Bandits of Golak here, Pete, like the duel, I think makes the episode for me. Like the fact that like they had me fooled, like when we realized, oh, like the little sister's force sensitive and the kid brother's trying to save her. They did not. Like I completely missed the fact that the Village Elder was a Jedi.
Yeah, I think from start to finish, I liked it. I was intrigued by the storyline, but yeah, the duel's really cool as well, obviously.
Yeah, very fun style here. I'll throw a couple out here in terms of ones that we haven't mentioned yet here. In terms of what do you think about like a random Wedge cameo in I Am Your Mother? That was funny.
Yeah, I like Wedge.
Yeah, Pete, were you happy to see Wedge in one of these?
Yeah, no, it was a cool little callback.
I also did think it was the storyline was this one made me to laugh the most because like we've all been there as kids, like you're embarrassed by like your parents being around. You're like, don't do this, don't come here. And then like at the end, they basically prove you wrong. And like, oh, like I still have value and I can help you out. And like I did think that was fun where she sort of realized, like as soon as she like embraces her mom and like saying, okay, you can help me pilot the parent race, then they end up winning the thing.
Yeah, this was like a cute episode.
Yeah. I did like the robot chicken style animation for this one also. I think that fit very nicely with the motif here.
Sure.
I agree.
Yeah. Another one I'll throw out here in terms of my number 2 one that I did not mention here. The Journey to the Dark Head. How'd you guys feel about that one?
I was, I'll be honest, I was in and out of attention in this one. It was hard for me to be involved. I was on a plane watching these, so it could have been something happening on the flight or me looking out the window or something. But this specific episode, I was really in and out. It did seem like though there was a lot of battles, and that seemed kind of cool.
Yeah, I did like the battles here in Pete. That was episode 5, the Journey to the Dark Head, where like we had this thing where like the people, like the Watchers from What If, are there, and they're like reading prophecies about what's going on, and then one of them goes to the secret Jedi Council on a spaceship, and they go find the pair with this Jedi whose master was killed. I think the odd couple pairing here, the duel in this one, I think that was a lot of fun. And I love the design of the Sith bad guy they were fighting, who looked a lot like Fire Lord Ozai from Avatar.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Another episode that not necessarily was weak, but not necessarily one of my favorites. It was good though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was actually number 2 on my list. It was actually much higher on than you guys.
Yeah, it didn't even make my top 3.
In terms of a couple other ones he mentioned here, like the Spy Dancer, did that one land for you guys?
Oh yeah, love that one. That was another one of my really high ones. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, what stuck out about the Spy Dancer for you?
I don't know. I honestly can't put my finger on something that necessarily that stuck out for me. It just seemed like a cool concept.
Yeah, I did like the storyline here, Pete, and that one, the idea of like that we have these spy dancers trying to like basically plant trackers on the Empire. The twist where like we find out that the Imperial officer that she's trying to like that the main dancer is trying to kill is like her son that was taken away 20 years prior. Like that's pretty dark.
You guys ever see Rush Hour 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was extremely similar.
That's all I could think about. I mean, it was still good, but I just was like, this is Rush Hour 3. It was interesting. I mean, not much more I could say about that other than it not my top, but it was still good. It wasn't bad. I don't think any episode in this series was bad. Or excuse me, the season.
Yeah. anything was bad. I think the one that I don't think landed for any of us based on the numbers brought up here, the last one, our song, I don't think really landed with it. I don't think it was really like our cup of tea. Is what we're looking for here, Nick.
That one was not for me. That's the easiest way to put it. I did not enjoy that one. And that's really it. I really just didn't enjoy that one.
You mean the singing bunny didn't get you?
No, that one I didn't like. Didn't like the kid. Didn't like the whole storyline. Just that one I was like, that stinks. The ending wasn't good.
Didn't think is in Pete. Also interesting here that like also they use the Kyber crystals as a plot point in a lot of these shorts.
I like that. I think I don't know how far we can go into the technology of lightsabers, but I feel like we barely touch upon it throughout Star Wars, and I feel like it'd be cool to have a little bit more there.
Yeah, I do think,
especially with Disney having the whole lightsaber experience. I feel like they should really try to market that within the show or something like that. Like, this is how we build it, and then you get to go and do it at Disney World and Disneyland. So
I did like. I thought I was getting more into that story when it began because it's about like the Sith corrupted these Kyber crystals, and now we're gonna have to like fix them. Like, I thought this could interesting, and then like it was just Ao singing to like unlock the crystals. Like that did not like land for me, but it did look nice.
yeah, overall, not a bad short. Not my favorite, probably my least favorite of them, but it started off interesting. I kind of lost as this episode was going. I kind of lost interest a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's my tell, Nick, in terms of like when I didn't like one of them as much as the other ones. Like if it started to wander, I'm like, okay, this one just did not land for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's how I felt with the one that the last one there. That's how I felt, and I did do that again on episode five, but that's not the episode's fault. That was my fault.
Overall, I think we did a pretty good. We got a pretty good wide range of things here, wide range of animations here. I also wanted to mention about In the Stars real quick. I think the claymation style they did for that one also really, I think, worked well with this, especially when the topic was like the Empire, like hoarding the planet's water. I think that was a nice contrast.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right, so we've got 2 volumes of Visions here. I think they are very well received. They've received a ton of critical acclaim here. Like, would you guys want more Visions going forward? Do you want to see a volume 3 in a year or two, Pete?
I say yes. I think if they can explore other production studios and they can explore different little short stories that we don't know of in Star Wars, I say let's do it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed season 2, and I would definitely watch a season 3.
Nick, how about you? How do you feel about this?
I feel the same. I enjoyed season 2 very much. It's not a huge commitment on my end to be watching this. It took 3 hours total, 2.5, 2 hours maybe to watch all of them. So in my mind, it's like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to tell me that I'm going to spend 2 hours and get a lot of these great stories and some cool animation and some new styles that I haven't seen, I'm in. I mean, I think the episodes were really engaging and well made, and some of them, like the pit, for example, really drew my attention. So, like, I would love to see more.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I also think the thing that makes it successful is that like these are all like new characters. I mean, yes, I mean the I Am Your Mother episode, we do have Wedge in there, and we have a bunch of Easter eggs, right? With the mom like basically using Mando's helmet as a wheel and like having a Death Star laser in there. Like that stuff is fun, but like I like that we are not just saying, oh, here's an anime take on Luke Skywalker. It's like, oh, here are new characters in the universe, seeing like how they relate to the themes that we call it. That makes the Vision successful, in my opinion.
I agree. Those are good points.
All right, so that's it for us this week. Coming up next week here on the podcast, we're going to kick off your video game month here on the podcast. We're talking a lot of video game Star Wars here because, Nick, the other new piece of canon material that is coming out, we're going to start building up to that, is Jedi Survivor, where you just need some lead time here because we want to get deeper into this game ourselves before we comment on it fully for you guys in story mode.
I'm taking my time with it, like it a lot so far. Love the gameplay, and I'm finally getting somewhere in the story where stuff's going down.
Yeah, and we'll say here, Pete, like we talked a little bit off the air here. I mean, like there's some interesting stuff we've seen so far, and I did like the fact that like we're gonna be joined again by our friend Nick D'Alessio from Recovery Room. He's gonna hop on a stream with him. We're gonna do some stuff there, and we're gonna probably go a few weeks later. We'll talk about this more next week because they're the big plans in the movie month. But like we'll give you the story of Jedi Survivor as well for those of you who do not have the time to play the game.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. I always love the video game collabs that we do. So excited to do this again. Yeah, I just excited.
All right, so that's all for us this week. I know you guys coming on here once again. Pete, you want to find on social media? I'm not going to do that.
At PJ Consadori 29 on Twitter.
All right, Nick, one more time, people. How do they follow the social media accounts for the Sky Guys?
At Sky Guys Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Watch those reels.
Yeah, watch those reels. Go follow me on Twitter, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week over on the Just on the Suffering podcast, our good friend of the Sky Guys, Martino Puccio, came on here, talked some NBA, got that stuff going on here. Plus, Nick, you're going to be on Just on the Suffering next week. You're going to be talking some NFL schedule.
That's right. We know who we're playing, all the teams, so we don't know when. We'll find out when.
We'll find out when. So that's going to be coming up here next week. We'll be back to kick off video game month. We'll do more details about that in the podcast next week. Until then, everybody, may the force be with you.